Hey everybody, thanks so much for checking out Branch Out Guitar. I'm John, and today we're going to be talking about bending and vibrato. So let's get started. So bending and vibrato involve the same kind of hand position here, and so I'm going to step you through that real quick. First we'll talk about bending, and then we'll get into vibrato. So bending is what you may think it already is. You may have some experience with it already. All you're doing is you're taking one note. We're going to stay here out of the B minor pentatonic position, so starting here at the 7th fret. So we'll use that position here to talk about the bending and vibrato. So let's say I start here at the 9th fret on the 3rd string. There's a couple common bends that you can do here. You can either do a quarter bend, you can do a half step bend, a full step bend, or a step and a half bend. Actually, I'm going to switch down to the 7th fret here to talk about. A quarter bend is something very, very, very subtle, just a little stretch out. You know, if I just play the note by itself, that's fine. But if I do a quarter bend, you kind of hear it go up just slightly. I'm not pushing it too far. It's usually kind of an afterthought, or, you know, like if you trail off in a conversation, how your speech kind of gets a little bit lower. That's how a lot of people will use a quarter bend. So what you're doing here for bending is I like to put my thumb, if I can, here on the top of the guitar neck. I don't normally do that for fingering scales and chords and that sort of thing, but for bending it definitely gives you a lot more support, a bigger, stronger anchor here to control the string and control the bend. Now the other thing too is, yes, you do use your fingers, but you don't only use your fingers when you're bending a note, and this will become more obvious when we get into half steps and full step and step and a half bends. So instead of just using your finger, you're going to be using kind of this system here, this anchor system you got here. You're using your wrist and your forearm to help you kind of push that string. So if I go, so that was at the 7th fret. Now say I went from here and I'm going to go up a half step. That means I'm going to push this note up or pull it down towards the floor. Depending on where you're on the guitar neck, it can go either way. But you're stretching that string to go up and match the pitch a half step above. So we're trying to match that note, this pitch here at the 8th fret, with the starting here at the 7th fret. And a good way to practice that is to play this note here and then get it in your head so that when you bend up, you can match those two pitches together. Now you don't only have to just use, in this case I'm using my index finger, you could use your middle finger, you could use your ring finger, you could use your pinky. As you use these other fingers, if you have a finger that you can put down behind it, it's a good idea to do that because it helps support the bend and basically gives your fingers a break. So that's just a half step. Say if I went up a whole step, now here I'll go up to the 9th fret. So I'm at the 9th fret here. Now whole step is going to be 2 frets or full step bend. You've seen it, I've seen it written as whole, I've seen it written as full, I've seen it written as 1, and tab you see this kind of arrow line going up like that. So I'm here at the 9th fret and I'm trying to match this note up to this pitch at the 11th fret or at the 7th fret on the 2nd string. So here you notice you get that thing that I'm talking about before. I'm using my ring finger here to bend the note, and then I'm putting these other 2 fingers down behind it in order to support that bend. So that gives me strength, and the other thing it gives me is a lot more control. Now, if I want to have like a slow release or a quick release, I have a lot more control with 3 fingers than I do with just 1 on top of that string. I could do slow, I could do fast, you know, all that sort of thing. And then a step and a half is going to be 1.5. So that means we're going a half step higher than where we just went. So if I'm here at the 9th fret, that means I'm matching it up to the pitch at the 12th fret. So here it becomes a lot more important to have this anchor system. Your thumb here on top is giving you more support, and you're using definitely your wrist and your forearm with the connection with your finger to help you push that note up. You don't want to just do this where you're kind of just touching on the back of the neck with the thumb and then really trying to stretch up with just your fingers. It's a lot, your arm is a lot stronger than your finger, so, you do the math on that. So that's pretty much it for bending. Now as you get into vibrato, if you see that in tab, you see it kind of with these squiggly lines. You can see like a subtle squiggly line, or you can see a bigger squiggly line. All that really is referring to is how intense the vibrato is. The bigger the line, the more intense the vibrato. So if I go back here to the 7th fret on the 3rd string with my index finger, the reason I've lumped these two things together, bending and vibrato, is because vibrato is just basically bending over and over, in some kind of fashion. So in this case, I'm kind of maybe almost doing that quarter bend up and then letting it come back down and then repeating as much as I can, or as much sustain as I can get out of the guitar. That's kind of pushing up. I could do the same thing here with my index finger, pull down towards the floor and then release it back to where it was. So with any of those bends that we had before also, you could do vibrato and bending at the same time. So I could bend, say, go back to the 9th fret on the 3rd string, up a whole step, and then put the vibrato on after that. So that means I'm bending up, letting it come back down, and then bending over and over and over, and kind of, that's, you can kind of see the wavy line here almost as I do with my gesture with my hand. So you could have just regular vibrato on a note with any finger. That's pretty much that quarter bend over and over. And then you can also have the actual bend, whether it's a half step, full step, or a step and a half bend, or even 2 whole steps. If you can push it up that far, you could still vibrato that note as well. It doesn't have to just be a standard sitting note like this. It could be a bent note. So that's pretty much it for bending and vibrato. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can get other great guitar information. You can comment and share below, and definitely be sure to check out branchoutguitar.com for even more information. We'll see you next time.